All right, everyone. Well, welcome back to the Petal Talk podcast. I am your host, Allison Crowder, and today we have a very special guest, the one and only Dr. Phillips on the podcast. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us today. Hi, welcome to Petal Talk, where skincare meets soul care.
Thank you so much for having me.
How are you feeling?
Fabulous.
Good. How's your day been?
So we had our coffee and things have been going well. We didn't get in a wreck on the way here, so that's always a positive.
That is a positive, and it's a bit of a trek from where you are to us.
A little bit. We're in Winter Park, and so it took us just over half an hour.
Okay, nice.
Not bad.
Not too terrible. Into a little sleepy Lake Mary. Tell the listeners who may not know a little bit about you, your practice, what you offer, and then we'll kind of get into the details.
Yeah. So my name's Dr. Phillips Nagsuk, and so I am a medical doctor. I trained in general surgery. I'm originally from Honolulu and Texas. We lived in both places for quite a while. We made our way, my wife and I made our way to Florida for residency here in Orlando. And we loved it so much we decided to stay. And I got out of surgery and made my way into medical aesthetics and haven't looked back since. Yeah.
And now you're just thriving.
Yeah.
I would say.
Doing our best.
Doing your best. Okay. So let's go back to you as a young child, a baby. Oh, what were you like as a kid? Were you cutting things? Were you like interested in that? Or were you not like into that at all?
I don't think I was like, I didn't even know I was going to be a doctor until much later in life. So what I wanted to do as a child actually was like go into special forces and the Rangers and do all that, which is what led me to the Army. But then, in 2003, I was in the invasion force in Iraq. So I was in the original force. We went from Kuwait up to Baghdad. And I ended up getting hurt in that summer and ended up medically discharged after that. So there was no future with that. Sure. And it was during that summer when I realized I really wanted to become a surgeon.
Yeah. When you were younger, was the military like something you dreamed of? Was your family in the military as well? Like, was that kind of an expectation?
So I come from a very military family, like as far back as I know. Yeah. My father was in the military, my grandfather, and a bunch of other family members. So it just felt like a natural thing to do. And so, when a lot of my high school friends were going to college, I was like, oh, I'm going to the Army. Yeah. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Were they in the Army as well?
Some of them were.
Yeah.
But like my best friend who now lives here in Orlando, he went to the Marines, he also went to Iraq, but a year after I had gone.
Mm-hmm. So you enlist right after high school? Okay.
Straight in.
What was that like for you?
A little scary.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I was a really cocky young guy and thought I could do anything. And I got humbled a little bit.
Yeah. And is it as intense as it looks online or like in the movies?
There's a lot of things I learned in a combat zone about myself and about the world and life in general that I just didn't ever think.
Sure.
Because, it is super intense and super scary, and you go through emotions that you may not be expecting because it's not a video game.
Right.
And when you actually see the bad side of humanity,
right,
all the death and destruction, it does affect you, and it also gives you an appreciation for what we as Americans are doing around the world, because we really are helping a lot of unfortunate folks around the world.
Right.
And I know there's a lot of controversy about what happened in Iraq, but what I will say is, even if we didn't find the weapons of mass destruction out there, we did help a lot of Iraqis.
Right.
And we saw that every day out there because our force was in charge of taking over Saddam Hussein's
Right.
compounds, his palaces and stuff, and we saw the stuff he was doing out there. It was atrocious.
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk about that.
Right.
Stuff,
No, for sure. Well, and I think that's something too where it kind of, obviously now we're a lot more aware of what's happening in other countries because of social media, right? Like we're able to see that. But, you know, at that time, what year did you say this was?
It was in 2003.
There was no Instagram stories. There was no like any, like the idea that you could see someone deployed or see anything that they were like letters, right? Like there was not a lot of conversation. And so I feel like, you know, opening up that conversation now where we do have so much access to understand what's happening in other countries and understand our impact and just really impact in general. It's really beautiful to be able to see, you know, where dollars are going and how people are being helped and how you can get involved. And that's something that just wasn't always accessible. And I'm sure even, you know, during your stint, it's hard work and you're like, I want people to care about it. I want people to take it seriously. And now you're able to, right? And that I'm sure is a big difference between people who enlisted, you know, 10, 20, 30 years ago versus now, you know, you're able to kind of get a better understanding of what you're doing and like what the overall goal must have been. That must have been so scary and very, real, I think is a word that you use. And I can imagine, there's not many things scarier than combat specifically. Did you always want to do specific combat or were you maybe initially interested in like the medical world at that time?
At that time, I wasn't even thinking about the medical world at all. Yeah. And, about the scary thing. Yeah. The first firefight we were in, we had just passed Baghdad and we were in Saddam's hometown. And wild. I remember being in a hole in the ground waiting for some guys to jump over the fence and then all that stuff to start. But I remember thinking, man, I may not be alive tomorrow. You know, this might be it. Right.
What mentally got you through moments like that? Like, how did you push forward? What were you always telling yourself? Were you saying like, I need to go home and see my parents again? Or like, what kind of got you through those scary situations?
Well, I never had a really great relationship with my parents, but I would say that achieving our mission and helping others really was truly what I wanted.
Sure.
Surviving it and making sure that we accomplished what we were there for.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that mentality of like helping people is what has in turn kept you extremely successful even in the industry you're in right now?
Absolutely.
Right. It's always helping people. It's always about someone else, whether it's combat or, you know, cosmetic. It is important. All the roles are important.
Absolutely. And so although my life has shifted from like saving lives as far as like trauma surgery goes to now making people feel better about themselves, giving them confidence. That role has definitely changed, but I still strongly feel that we help people every day.
Yeah, absolutely. So you finish your stint, you get medically discharged is what you said. Mm-hmm. Was that hard for you?
Oh, that was a big gut punch.
I'm sure. And it kind of like a shift in the rest of your whole life. I'm sure a part of you thought you'd maybe be in the military forever.
I did.
And then now it's like, what do I do now?
And so that's where it took a lot of introspection, and I realized, well, I gotta do something different. So one of the things was I saw a lot of unfortunate things happen out there, and people. It's a weird feeling to have someone shot right in front of you, and you just literally don't know what to do.
Right.
And it's horrifying. Really.
It is.
You know, you see blood everywhere and screams, and you really want to.
And
do
it's
something.
not a video game, like you said. Right, like it's so real.
And all you know to do is just put pressure while blood's shooting out of their body, and it's not a great feeling.
No.
So I was like, you know what? I'll become a doctor.
Yeah. Kind of the opposite, right? Like you're like, I've seen lives be lost. How can I maybe save lives?
Sure.
Maybe. What does that first step look like? You decide, like, okay, in high school, did you have good grades to do like school?
So I was fortunate. So I as far as I can remember, I was always like a A student.
Oh, good.
And
Yeah.
so
Nice.
that definitely carried through to college as well. And I was fortunate because I did well on all the entrance exams and all of that. And so the challenge at first was, well, what are all the things that it takes to actually get in, aside from good scores and exam scores and grades on your core classes and all this business. And so that journey began, and I realized, I have to do this, I have to do that. There's like a million things you have to do to get into med school.
Right.
You have to do research and publications.
And at this time, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe you're like a little bit older than your classmates as well.
Yes.
Did that factor into anything? Because I can imagine you're like, these kids are like 18 and you are not.
Right.
What was that like too? Did you feel like
it was interesting,
awkward? When I was in beauty school, there was a lot of girls in my class that were in their 40s. It was just kind of coincidental. And they would always mention how awkward and uncomfortable they felt because I would be talking about like my boyfriend, and they were like married with 3 kids. And it was really hard to relate. Did you feel like that at all? Or did you feel kind of maybe, I don't want to say silly, but like just out of place?
There were definitely moments like that. I'll never forget, my wife can tell you too if she was here, but when I first got into med school, I remember immediately feeling out of place.
Yeah.
I felt super awkward and like, did I do the right thing? Because there are a bunch of kids, and some of these kids are super entitled.
Yeah.
And
you've seen craziness.
Stuff,
right.
And here, my wife and I are like dead broke.
Right.
Her and I.
When did you and her meet?
Oh, man. We met 15, 16 years ago.
Okay.
We were both college students. And so most of my family still lives in Bangkok, Thailand. And so I was visiting family, and she was over there, and I met her in Thailand. Oh, wow. She worked at a hotel. A lot of her family are in the hotel industry. And I was like, oh man, that girl's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And so I remember chasing her around, trying to get her to go out, and she was refusing. I'm like, what in the world?
You're like, hello.
Look at me.
Yeah.
I'm a cat.
Right. No. Right. Duh.
And so she literally was refusing, and maybe that made me
want it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I found out later that she actually thought I was gay.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You're like, hello. Rude.
And so finally she decided she would give me a chance to take her out, and I took her out on one date, and I remember that date she paid for the dinner, and I was like, what in the world is going on? This is weird.
Right.
And because she just didn't want
like owe you anything.
I don't want a guy buying me dinner. Right. I don't want you to feel like this. You buying me dinner is going to earn you something.
Right.
And
a strong woman. I get that.
She really is. She's an amazing woman.
Yeah.
And after that, we kept talking on the phone all the time
because she still lives there. Okay.
Oh, she's here.
No, I'm sorry. No, I mean like at this time. At this time, yes. She, and so you did like extremely long distance.
Extremely.
Which like 12 plus hours or something, like crazy, right? The time change?
Yes,
yeah.
12
Okay.
hours.
Okay. And so what did that look like?
I flew back 2 or 3 times, and then I remember getting a call from her, and she was like, hey, my dad just asked if I wanted to go to college in Texas. And I thought, yeah, why not? Next thing I know,
perfect.
She's in Texas, and she's enrolled at my university.
Coincidentally.
And so,
yeah.
So it just went from there, and we ended up hitched.
Yeah. How quickly after she moved did you get married?
I think from the time we met, it was like a year.
Oh, it's pretty quick.
So, yeah, it was. But it's one of those things where you just know.
Absolutely.
And we were definitely in love. And
yeah.
I knew from making many mistakes in the past, I was like, okay,
right,
this is different. And, and obviously it was for me.
Right.
We've been together for a very long time.
Yeah.
And back then, she didn't know what she wanted to do. And I said, why don't you become a nurse? I'm going to be a surgeon so you can be a nurse. And she was like, sure.
Yeah.
So she kind of meandered through that, and she's a nurse now.
Yeah. And so you guys are in school at the same time. You're grinding it out through the same time, which
It's
I'm
a
sure
joke.
was a grind. Yes. What did that look like kind of on the day to day? Were you in the tiny 1-bedroom apartment with the ramen noodles for dinner? Like,
Yes.
yes.
We lived in the nastiest, all bills included kind of place on campus.
Sure.
Next door to Taco Bell and Maverick's Bar,
Nice.
in which we would drink our beer when we save up enough money to drink beer
Right.
at the bar next door.
Right.
And there was mold going through, like the drywall was sagging because all the
No.
I'm dead serious. We couldn't afford anything, so
Right.
we wouldn't be able to buy groceries unless her parents wired us money.
Oh, yeah. Because you can't really work when you're in med school, right? That's what you're so busy. You're doing so many like hour requirements. There really isn't a lot of time okay. So even more.
Yeah.
So what did like a day, week look like for you guys both?
We just get up early in the morning, work out at the campus gym, take a shower, quick get to all our classes, meet up for coffee and a quick ramen or whatever, piece of bread.
Yeah. Buttered toast.
Yeah. And then, grind it out. Then I was also doing research at the time. So all throughout, I'd be sprinkling in going to the laboratory because
Sure.
I studied a lot of, I did chemistry and biology.
Okay.
But I ended up loving chemistry way more. So I was always, I did a lot of organic synthesis.
Oh, nice.
And so I was always trying to be in the lab as much as possible because I was working on publications and stuff. So
Yeah.
I loved organic chemistry.
That's fun.
And actually, I would have been perfectly happy living my career actually as an organic chemist.
Really?
But obviously, I went the route still with being a doctor, and I'm very happy to do it.
Yeah.
But I did love chemistry.
When you were in school, did you feel like that fueled the same passion as the military did? Or were you in school thinking, man, in the start, I don't know if this is what I want to do, but I got to kind of finish?
No, I definitely loved it. And so, and it was confirmed when I got into med school.
Okay. So what did that look like? Because I know it's a very long application process and it's extremely stressful. Like, did you apply to multiple locations? Like, what did that look like?
So I applied to all the schools in Texas because the VA has a special program. So if you go to a graduate school or medical school or whatever in the state of Texas and you join the military in the state of Texas, they would pay for it.
Oh, nice.
All tuition and fees.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well,
this is the way to do it.
Texas.
Right.
It makes a lot of sense.
Right.
So they paid for my undergrad, actually I was medically retired. So
Nice.
They paid 100% of undergrad and then all of my tuition and fees for med school, being that I went all in Texas.
Yeah.
So it was an easy decision.
Totally.
And don't regret any of it. I loved my school. I actually am an Aggie. I went to Texas A&M.
Yeah, nice.
And we loved our experience in College Station. It was a lot of fun there.
Yeah, did you have fun in school and enjoy the experience?
So I feel like we enjoyed A&M much better because we got to live more of like a normal college life.
Sure.
And not have to worry about work or anything like that.
Yeah.
And we weren't as stressed with money at that point.
Yeah.
Although we still weren't wealthy or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
just taking the edge off is nice.
And getting to go to football games at A&M. Johnny Manziel was there at the time.
Yeah.
Which he didn't turn out in the NFL all that great. But
yikes.
he sure was fun to watch in college.
Yeah. That's cool. You both finish, you go 4 years, or how many years are you spent there?
So medical school's 4 years. Yeah.
Okay. So then you're finished with school.
Mm-hmm.
What happens next?
So then we came to Orlando and I did general surgery at ORMC.
Okay. Why general?
Well, so I really like trauma.
Okay.
And so
why? Maybe because of your military background?
I think that's the biggest influence there.
Quick on your feet.
Yeah.
Like solutions oriented.
And it's like when someone comes in and they got shot in the head and then the chest and then the pelvis, you have to literally make a decision right then and there what to do and do it, or else they die in front of you.
Yeah.
And so it's really intense,
right?
Really stressful, but it's really rewarding.
Yeah.
And I mean, that part's a lot of fun.
Are you able to share, I don't know, like legally, like a really crazy case that you saw, or like a really crazy, something that you worked on?
Well, I'll keep it general. So like the craziest stuff that I experienced was during Pulse.
Oh, wow. Sure.
So I was on call during Pulse, and obviously the Pulse nightclub was right down the street from Orlando Regional.
Right.
And that was a unique experience.
I'm sure.
And it was very, it was trying. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it led to some people in the hospital to leave the medical field. Wow. Because they realized that it was a little too much.
Yeah.
After going through that, I remember some people took it really hard.
I'm sure.
Because it was awful. A
I'm
lot of
sure.
people died.
Yeah.
It was very gruesome.
Right.
And we took 50 patients in, and all of the ones that made it to the hospital alive survived.
Oh, yeah. Thank God.
It took a lot of work.
I'm sure.
And I'll never forget, there was one patient who we took to the OR 20-something times.
Oh, my gosh.
2 months. It was crazy.
Wow.
And I remember being in the trauma ICU thinking to myself, he's not going to make it.
Yeah.
There's no possible way.
Yeah.
This is it. And then he pulled through.
Yeah. Wow. Do you ever keep in contact with previous patients or anyone that you like saved that you have like a deep bond with kind of outside of the hospital?
So we never really did that kind of thing because it's kind of questionable. You shouldn't.
Sure.
But, you know, for a lot of the patients, they do maintain follow-up.
I'm sure it's kind of like a trauma bond though too of like, sure, you saved my life. Like, you know, this is what's happening in my world now, and I'm able to do these things because you patched me up. I'm sure.
And some people do reach out on Instagram, like through DM and stuff.
Sure. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I'm sure saved hundreds and hundreds of people, right? Like that's incredible. That's amazing. How long were you in active, like general trauma? What, like actually like boots on the ground kind of working? How long was that?
Well, I did it for a few years.
Okay.
And then I ended up slipping into like a kind of a dark place, and I was getting into depression. Mm-hmm. And you know, you work ridiculous hours. And I'm
sure I'm sure it's so like on call all the time, texting, calling, living. I mean, I've seen Grey's Anatomy. Okay. So I know a little bit about like what that's like, right? Obviously I'm joking, but literally living there, sleeping there, showering there, eating there. Like I'm sure, and you're married, right? Did you have babies at the time or? Not at that time. I'm sure it's taxing.
Because of the hours, you just, sure. It's not, there's a lot of divorce in the field.
Yeah.
And a lot of cheating I found, I saw a lot of weird things happen in the hospital.
Yeah.
A lot of weird
in those on-call rooms. No. Is that real?
These things happen.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to get into
I watch Grey's Anatomy.
I remember seeing things and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Like TV.
It makes sense though, because it's like you're there 24/7. That becomes your new ecosystem. Like you don't even go home. Or maybe you do, I guess.
Some specialties do, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe medicine, internal medicine or whatever. They get to go home even if they're on call, and then they just take calls by phone or whatever.
Yeah.
But a surgeon doesn't get that luxury.
Sure. Yeah.
And so my wife and I had to make a decision. And so I could have figured out how to continue in that field or get out. And so I decided to get out.
Yeah.
And I left. It was a hard.
I was going to ask, was that hard as well?
Decision, but I came to the realization that for me, I didn't want to have these marital struggles that I saw so many individuals go through. Mm-hmm. Like some of these guys on their fourth marriage and stuff. And I love my wife.
Yeah. I
want to have kids and build a family with her. And I just didn't feel like for my mental health and for our family, it was the right thing for me to stay.
Yeah.
So I left.
Would she express to you like, I'm struggling and you're never home and like, this is hard for me, or what did that look like?
You know, she was, I found later that she was being so supportive that she wasn't telling me everything because she didn't want to add to my stress.
Yeah.
And later on, after I left, she ended up telling me that she was thankful that I left and all the reasons why. And I was like, oh my goodness.
You're like, now I feel bad. I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know she was struggling personally
Right.
because of that.
Right.
So, it turned out to be really a good thing for us.
She is working at the same hospital at the time?
No, she didn't.
Okay.
So she worked in the Advent system.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And then she ended up working at Dr. Phillips Hospital for a couple of years, which I did surgery there for a while too, which was interesting being Dr. Phillips.
I know. I was just thinking that. I'm like, that's interesting. It's the same name.
Yeah.
And like, there's also a city, Dr. Phillips. Like, it's so interesting. Yeah.
I'd walk in at like 1 a.m. doing a consult in the ED, and I'd say, "Hi, I'm Dr. Phillips. I'm here to take out your gallbladder." And they'd be like, "What?
The doctor?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
I'd be on a yacht if I was
Right.
that guy. He's a
Right.
billionaire.
Right.
He's been dead for like 60 years.
I was going to ask him. He's probably not even with us anymore. Yeah. Yeah.
Not me.
So when does the conversation open up of cosmetic related anything?
She's always wanted me to be in that.
Okay. Why? Do you know?
She's always loved that field, and she actually wanted to become an esthetician, not
Is she
a
a
nurse.
glam girl? She loves skin, makeup, Botox, everything.
You've probably seen her on Instagram.
I probably have. Yeah.
She's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But she I think she still is going to end up going to esthetician school, so she can do both.
Nice. Yeah, she should.
Yeah.
Did she always kind of make comments, or did she present one day, this is what you should do, like let's open a med spa?
She would always throw hints in there.
Sure.
And then I remember when we finally made the decision, she was always like,
So happy. Yes.
Like our dream?
Your dream. Did it start with let's own a med spa, or was it maybe you work for someone else for a little bit? Like, what did that transition then look like?
It's interesting. So the way it started was I worked with my former partner, and he owned a med spa that was very successful in Ocala for many years at that point. And then I would drive out there and do a lot of the stuff at his place out there, which is kind of a long drive all the time. And he was like, we should open a place in Winter Park.
Yeah.
And
at this time, were you living in Winter Park?
Mm-hmm.
Have you always lived in Winter Park?
Not always, but we used to live downtown Orlando.
Okay.
And so we opened up a branch of his business in Winter Park, which is still in the same place, the same physical location.
Oh, nice.
And just over a year and a half ago, my wife and I propositioned him, and we said, hey, I want to buy this business out and separate.
Okay.
Which probably didn't go very well at first.
Sure.
And obviously, we went that route because things weren't going the way that we wanted them to go. Mm-hmm. And I felt like in order to achieve what we wanted, we really needed to just do our own thing.
Yeah.
And it has, by and large, it's been working out.
Yeah,
obviously.
that's good.
So,
do you and this man still have a relationship?
We talk every now and then, but it's not like it used to be.
Yeah, it's hard. The business then transitions into something totally different, or did you keep kind of the same kind of bones as it was when it was you too?
So we've changed an awful lot.
Okay.
So aside from the fact that physically our space has dramatically changed, because we definitely we revamped everything.
Yeah.
And we did it all ourselves too.
Oh, nice.
The painting, the carpentry.
You do it all. Look at you. Yeah.
I grew up always being like, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
So, and even the electrical work.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. We're going to start calling you when we need projects.
And we started offering new services.
Okay, yeah. So talk about that. Before, what were the services? Now, what are the services? And then what do you kind of specialize in?
So we originally were mostly doing just Botox, filler, threads, and facials. And that was pretty much it, I feel. After the transition, though, we did a lot. We added new devices, so we're doing a lot more laser stuff.
Nice.
Next year, I'm going to be buying a CO2 laser.
Nice.
So, I used to do more ablative laser with a pearl, which is similar, but I ended up selling that because I didn't like it so much. But now there's such awesome CO2.
There's so many options
devices.
too. Yeah.
So many.
It's so overwhelming to choose.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
And salesmen are everywhere.
They're everywhere.
It's crazy.
They come in every day. They bring you treats.
Some of them are super aggressive and
Yeah.
come on, stop with it.
Yes. You got to make their living.
Yeah. I mean, they're
That's how they get paid. Yeah.
exactly.
I'm like, okay, you can keep bringing me coffee, but I'm not buying your machine.
So, I started to get back into more invasive kind things too. So, now since we transitioned to what we are now, I'm doing minimally invasive surgical procedures.
Okay.
So we offer the Body Tight platform, which allows us to do like minimally invasive brachioplasties and abdominoplasty kind of thing.
Cool.
We do lower facelift,
Oh, cool.
minimally invasive
Yeah.
techniques.
Yeah.
And I stopped doing threads completely.
I was going to ask about that. As soon as you said threads, 2 minutes ago, I had flashbacks to one time I went with one of my girlfriends and watched. It is so crazy to watch. I can only imagine how crazy it is to perform. I will never forget watching her get that done. That's the only time I'd ever seen it in real life. It's wild.
Yeah.
Do you like that procedure, that protocol?
So I don't want to. There are obviously people still doing it out there.
Sure.
But I personally felt that there are much more effective things that last longer.
Sure.
And I never really, after doing it for years, I felt like I didn't buy into what some people were saying where, oh yeah, it lasts 2-3 years and stuff. I never saw that.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time charging someone $3,000 for something that lasts for 5 or 6 months and then having to
do it again.
Deal it again or tell them, well, it just didn't work out for you. It's like, that was happening too often.
Yeah.
Even after all the training and using high quality products.
Right.
And I said, I don't believe in this anymore.
Yeah.
I just don't. So, that's the thing. We really pride ourselves on being honest and transparent.
I was just going to say, that's what's so nice about owning your own business is you get to make those decisions of this is not right. And ethics is something in this industry that is such a spectrum. Some take it really seriously and some do not. And so to be able to maybe upset some guests, I'm not offering this anymore, it speaks way more volumes though than offering it when it doesn't work or when you don't believe in it. Right. And that conversation of what does work, what doesn't work, and let's be honest about it, doesn't always happen. And it is good to set yourself apart, even if, it might ruffle some feathers.
Sure.
But honesty is important. And your guests are spending so much money. It's painful. It's time off of work, right? And you want to give them the best of the best because they deserve it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's wild.
But it's funny how you mentioned there's a spectrum.
Right?
Ethics and things.
Which it shouldn't be, but
absolutely.
I've seen some crazy stuff, right? I've lived in a lot of different states. And every licensure requirement too is different in every state. And there's things that I've seen in other states with less hours. I lived in Vegas, for example, for a while.
Oh, cool.
The difference, between, I lived in Salt Lake City for a while and then I lived in Las Vegas. The difference in ethics in both of those locations are also vastly different, right? Salt Lake City, if you didn't know, but most do, so much of beauty education and trends kind of come out of Salt Lake. And in Las Vegas, you can find any service, any provider for, you can get your whole everything done for, $15.99. And it's like, oh God, like, no. You have to be so careful. And these places don't care. It's all about making a quick dollar versus in a lot of the locations when I lived in, Salt Lake, extremely expensive because they take it seriously.
Yeah.
And I'm always on the side of, I would way rather pay a lot more for something clean, sanitary, legal, right? Than the opposite because it's your body, it's your face.
Yeah.
you should take it seriously.
And I have a lot of friends in this industry, and we have these talks all the time. And one striking example of what you're talking about between Vegas and Salt Lake, it's like what I see between here in Orlando and Miami. So there's obviously some world-class surgeons in Miami. So I'm not trying to say everything down there is a fraud, but oh my goodness, there's so much fraud.
Yeah.
There's so much fraud down there.
Mm-hmm.
And just the other day on the news, we found out that a plastic surgeon here in Orlando is facing 9 years in prison for what he's been doing here in Orlando.
Stop.
I'm like, oh, he's injecting people with liquid silicone.
I think I saw this actually or heard about it. Was this recent?
Yes. It just like what, a couple weeks ago?
Yeah. Scary.
Real. This is unbelievable. He's a board certified plastic surgeon. And there's no way he didn't know what he was doing.
For
was
sure.
outrageous.
They know.
Hurting people.
Yeah. And they don't care. That's the thing. And that's why you know, people always comment about, oh, the beauty industry is so oversaturated. Sure. But like, then you have people like that versus people like you. It's not oversaturated. There's a clear difference. And it's like, people just have to do their due diligence, which sometimes they don't. And then that's unfortunate. But the saturation equating to quality, I feel like is fine, right? Like there are only actually a handful of really excellent practices, point blank period, in every city. You have to really take your time and find what is going to work for you, because that's terrifying. I don't know if you saw, and I might be getting some of the details wrong, but in Arizona a few months ago, 6 months ago, maybe, a med spa, I think, or some sort of practice was doing a lot of like spinning of the blood type services, and were not properly sanitizing their machines. And then they gave a lot of their patients like HIV. And it's like, that's a really big deal. That's a huge lawsuits as well. I think 3 or 4 different people
destroying lives. And
I'm like, yeah, I would do that too. I would be livid, right? Like what do you mean you're not sanitizing your machines? I'm sorry. Is that not day one of med school, beauty school, clean your stuff? No, it is.
And
crazy.
That's one of the reasons why I tell folks, don't let the price be your only driving factor behind what you're looking for in your beauty. Because if you do, you're putting yourself at risk.
Absolutely.
People that are just shopping on Groupon.
Not the Groupons. Oh my gosh. I have so many. I used to work, I was a director at a permanent makeup academy, and she was extremely expensive. Obviously it's permanent makeup. It's on your face. It's facial tattooing, right? It's a big deal. She was an excellent artist, one of the best. So many guests she would have come in, can I do a quick consult? What does this look like? Budgeting like $100 to $200. She charged, $800 up for, different services. She'd been licensed for an extremely long time too. So you get what you pay for. But she would also say as well, like, I understand that budget is something to be mindful of, but you do realize I'm tattooing your face, right? Your eyelids, your lips. Like, this is a big procedure. It needs to be taken seriously. And also coming in with the Groupons of, well, I can find it on Groupon for $100. Go. Good luck. And then she said, she would always say, well, then I'll come see you for corrective work in a few months. And it's true. It's so wild to learn about and to really understand that culture of, I just want it for the cheapest dollar possible. Yeah, absolutely.
And so there's also a thing where, I talked about this not too long ago, but, there's a lot of counterfeit Botox and Ozempic and things like this being found in the United States now that the government is cracking down on and making arrests, and it's become this real horrible thing. But these counterfeit products have been linked to deaths.
Right.
And you got to think the vast majority of places using this kind of stuff are people that are injecting in their house or in the back of a van,
right,
or at some bottom dollar Groupon place. If someone is offering $8 a unit Botox to everybody, they're literally losing money every time they treat a patient. Mm-hmm. Do you really think that they're going to be running a business to lose money?
Right.
That makes no sense at all.
Right.
And so every time I have someone ask, oh, well, I mean, there's a place in Winter Park that does Botox for $8 a unit. And I said, you're right, there is. I know exactly where that is. Yeah. And it's not far from here.
Right.
And if that's what you're looking for, please go there.
Yeah, absolutely.
We pride ourselves on safety and ethics and delivering good results.
And the results also, you actually get results in a practice like yours. We hear it all the time too. Girls will go to similar types of locations like you're referring to, and they're pissed because in 2 months they're like, I got to go back. And it's like, yeah, because it was water or whatever, whatever elements it is. And it's like, what did you think it was going to be? What did you think? Or feeling like really bruised after or whatever. And it's like, yeah, what did you think you were getting into? These services are supposed to be, I mean, maybe not luxury is the right word, but kind of like they're to be taken seriously. Yeah. But like, that comes with a luxury price tag sometimes, and you need to, and it's your face. Oh my gosh, it's a big deal. Yeah, it's a really big deal. Do the bulk of your guests, your clientele, are fillers and injections kind of your bread and butter, or what does kind of a daily service list look like for you?
I would say that is bread and butter, although we do a lot more. Yeah. But it is the lion's share of what comes through.
Is it just you injecting?
For now. Okay. Nice. I'm going to be hiring, probably next year, I'll be hiring a nurse practitioner or a PA. Nice. Which I know there's many that have applied. But there's a lot of talent out there. And when the time is right, I'm very happy to bring another member to the team. What
are things that you're looking for in your next hire?
So it has to be someone that is not toxic.
Right.
They blend with personality. So we are, like, no joke, we are very close at my place. So I would say that, like, Lexi here is like my daughter. Aww. So she also lives 2 houses down.
Oh my gosh. In our neighborhood.
Yeah. Her mom and I are very close. Yeah. Vic, which I think, do you know Victoria? Or was it?
I know through friends just in the world. Yes.
She's worked for me for years.
That's awesome.
And I love her. And she's very close. She's like family.
Yeah.
We really pride ourselves on that too. We have a close relationship. We can talk frankly, and I think that helps our patients too, because there's no fear in discussing cases and what we think is right and wrong. So. Whenever an esthetician cannot have an open discourse with their boss, I think that's a huge barrier to patient care. Mm-hmm. And Victoria had a boss in the past where she was literally afraid of him.
Yeah, that's hard.
She was terrified every time he walked in the room. I know this guy well, and he was an intimidating person. Mm-hmm. She couldn't.
You can't do your job. You can't do your job like that. Yeah, it's suffocating.
Needle this face. Should I offer it?
Right.
Want to talk about that? Even talk about anything.
Right.
You have to. I feel like it's a blessing to have the relationship that we all have.
Yeah, it's special, and it's not like that everywhere. We similarly have an extremely close group of girls, and obviously Ryan, but a group of girls. Yeah. Yeah. The one little bit of testosterone we got over here. But same, it's not like that everywhere. And we have a couple of girls that are, some are like right out of school. And I'm like, you are so lucky you have never had to experience that, because it's actually crippling. And to you, this might seem like what every job is supposed to be like, because you've had such an amazing experience. But it's not always like that. And we also, and that's something that I take a lot of pride into, in kind of managing people, is we are extremely close, and we are all friends outside of here and care deeply about each other. We know each other's kids' names and spouses' names, and show up at the events and birthdays. And those things make a world of difference when you're at work. They really do. And it's something that is just as important as patient care is my priority is equally our guests and our team members, because without one, you don't have the other. And I want to make sure that the whole ecosystem is running well.
Totally.
And that's important. When you bought out and the business became your own, did you experience a lot of turnover at that time, or did you get to keep the bulk of the team?
No, we kept it. I feel like if I hadn't bought the business, we would have lost people because I wasn't in charge at that time.
Sure.
And so I feel like we had lost one person, Macy, who has since come back to us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she went to a place that is to this day incredibly toxic in Titusville, because she still lives in Titusville.
Okay. Far.
I know, right?
That's very far.
Macy girl, you're crazy.
Yeah, you're not crazy. You gotta move.
And so she went to this place over there, stayed for months, and she would call me and ask me for advice. And of course I'm going to help her. I love her.
Right.
But I'm like, I don't understand though. There's a medical director there. There's an owner there.
Right.
There's nurse practitioners and nurses and estheticians. I don't understand. Why is it that you're still calling me?
Right.
And she started alluding to me that what's going on. Wow. So there really are places like this.
Oh yeah.
And so when the opportunity opened, she immediately was like, "Can I please come back?"
Yes. You're like, absolutely.
And I'll tell you, when she came back, there was an immediate difference in our laser treatments. She's very fast, very efficient, very knowledgeable, and ultra friendly. She was so happy to come back that our patients noticed this, and they're like, "Wow, it is a pleasure having treatments from her."
Yeah.
Because you can feel it.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. When you have a happy team, your clients feel that.
Yes.
They definitely get that,
They do.
that vibe. And so.
And it should be fun. And it should be happy.
It should be.
This is something they're looking forward to for weeks, months, years. Sometimes I'm sure in your case, years. It should be exciting. You should feel special. You should feel like you get to have a bit of girl talk and like, you look great. That's what this industry is all about. It's making people feel good. And so when you have a provider who is pissed about something else, got into a fight with someone else, you're not going to receive that. And every guest every time should have the same experience. We always say that every guest every time. Everyone should be greeted with the same excitement, whether it's something as small as a brow wax, as big as a microneedling treatment or whatever. Everything should be referenced the same as, I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so happy to be here with you. This is so special. You look great, right? Like it should be happy. There's no need for the
Absolutely
cranky part of it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's hard. There's a lot of girls in here, right?
Let me tell you what the hospital's like. It is not like that.
No, I'm sure.
People are miserable all over the place.
They're sick. They're exhausted. They're overworked, underpaid, right? Like I can only imagine.
Yeah, and I'd have colleagues cursing at patients. And I'm like, what are you doing? I can't even imagine cursing at a patient.
I don't either.
And,
it happens though, actually all the time. And you hear these horror stories. I'm too scared. Couldn't be me. I would never. So you've fully owned for you said about year and a half?
It's getting closer to 2 years.
Okay, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
And so what does next year look like?
It's looking very 25.
Yes.
25,
Yes.
So, I think that with the way the trajectory we're going, things are looking bright and happy, and we're with the services that we're offering. Like we're just about to start offering NAD. Okay. I don't know if you guys know about it, but
a little bit.
We've been for the last 2 weeks. We've all been getting injected with it. And
oh, nice!
It is amazing.
What are some results you're feeling?
So energy level is clearly higher.
Good.
I'm drinking way less caffeine.
Wow!
Even though I showed up,
we need one of those over here. Yeah.
But better sleep.
Good.
And
if someone's listening and they don't know what it is, can you explain a little bit what it is?
Yeah. So nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, NAD plus. So it is an essential part of our cells that actually are responsible for creating energy. So it's in the mitochondria, it's in the cytosol, it's in our liver, it's all over the place. And so in order for ATP, which is the energy source for our cells, to be created, you need this to basically for the reaction to occur.
Sure.
I'm trying to keep it as simple as
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah. For the result to manifest itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing that's being discovered in research right now, because this is a very active area of research in the medical field, once we hit the age of 30, what we found is that the amount of NAD produced by your body is literally halved with every 10 years.
Right.
So from 30 to 40, you have less, half as much NAD production in your body as you did when you were in your 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing happens when you go from 40 to 50, from 50 to 60, you keep having. That's a precipitous drop.
Yeah.
And so what they're discovering is that this has big implications on aging with neurologic function, with mental state. They're finding that supplementing NAD is in research is being found to improve anxiety and depression, neurologic disease, the aging process.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And they're finding even in people with autoimmune disease that they're having improvements in their condition with NAD supplementation.
Interesting.
This is really cool stuff.
And it's all relatively new, right?
Super new.
Yeah. Like you were probably one of the first, if not the first, to really bring a lot of this on.
So there are some places in town, but like we're definitely there's not all of them are offering.
Sure.
That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And it is so new that there's no clear protocol either.
Sure.
And that's literally why we are experimenting on each other. So
right. And it's, not dangerous. So it's like, fine. Yeah. Right.
We're not using huge doses or anything like
Yeah.
that. So there's no protocol right now that says you should offer this dose for these
days or whatever. Yeah.
This many times a week. There's nothing like that.
Right.
So, there's something to be said about a practice that's offering this, because are they just kind of just doing what another place is doing, or are they experimenting like we are?
Right.
And, I'm taking some pride in this right now because we are trying different dose schedules, different frequencies, different things like that. And we're already getting closer to what we think we're going to offer.
That's so fun.
But we're not going to offer it to any patients until we iron it out.
Right. Right. Yeah. Cause it's your name. It's a big deal. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's really exciting. And then you mentioned maybe bringing on another machine.
Yeah. We're definitely wanting to do a CO2 laser.
That's awesome. That'll be so fun.
So if there's any reps listening to this,
now's your time. Seriously. And so, okay, we kind of like missed this portion, but when were the babies born? Tell me about the babies.
Yeah. So,
and tell me how it's like balancing babies, partner, work.
Yeah. So, we have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Okay. Little.
They're little. Balls of energy.
Yeah. They don't need any of those injections. No.
Take some NAD out somehow. Yeah. So they were both born at Winter Park Hospital.
Nice.
Literally across the street from my place.
It's so fun.
And when Lilith was
boy and a girl?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Our 4-year-old's Lilith. We call her Lily.
Aww.
And when she looks exactly like me with hair.
Cute.
And when she was born, it was just Ice and I, my wife and I, and we had not a lot of help. And so it was so stressful.
I'm sure.
It's like, wow. And we're older.
Right.
So that makes it even worse, I guess, because we didn't have enough NAD.
Yeah. It all comes back to that. That's what I'm taking away from today.
Jeez. And it was incredibly difficult at the time.
Yeah.
We figured things out. We had to support each other a lot. And then I got her pregnant again.
Yeah.
And then number 2 came, baby Phillips Jr.
Yeah.
And he is so cute.
Yeah.
When he came along was right when we finally got my mother-in-law's immigration paperwork.
Oh,
done.
sure. Yeah.
And we specifically bought the house in Winter Park that we did because it has a mother-in-law suite.
Perfect. Yeah.
And bam, she
was.
Life. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Life opened back up again.
Gosh, I don't know how people don't do it without a mother-in-law. But
I know, with no help.
Changed our lives.
Good.
Mega.
Does your wife still work, or did she work at the time as well?
So she didn't work as much. So
I'm just gonna say she can't. She literally can't. Yeah.
When we just had Lilith before Mom got here, it was a struggle. She couldn't work as much. Like she would work like a day a week or something.
Yeah.
And now she's working full time again at a surgery center in Winter Park.
Nice.
But maybe she might be working at the oncology center next door. Who knows?
That would be great, right? Yeah, that would be awesome.
So, work-life balance now is awesome. And
Good.
so for people considering to go into this field, what I'll say is it is not all like rainbows and
Oh yeah.
unicorns and whatever. Right. There's a lot of hard work that goes into this, and marketing is not easy. And
no, it is not.
It takes a lot to get traction. Mm-hmm. You got to do a lot of things, and in the beginning, if anyone's considering doing this, like a new doctor or a nurse practitioner, PA, whatever, please don't go into this thinking that it's like, oh yeah, this is gonna be instant success. I'm gonna be making $1 million. No way.
Yeah,
no way. You're gonna be making peanuts at first, but you gotta be okay with that.
Right.
You gotta put in the work.
Absolutely.
And, you gotta be patient, and you gotta be ethical and honest, and get good training
and gain that trust.
You have to earn it.
Absolutely.
This is not something that's just a given.
No.
And you got to realize that there's room for harm. You can hurt people doing things like this.
Absolutely. Quite a bit.
Even as an esthetician, right? You do peels on people.
Absolutely.
You could hurt them.
Absolutely.
Burn their face.
Hurt their eyes. I mean, it's really stressful when you see people, on Instagram doing the most outlandish things. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? What are you talking about? I'm like, that is wrong. Like extremely wrong. You see, I'm sure you've seen them too. These microneedling, like roller, like dermal blades. I'm like, you're joking. You're posting about that? Oh, I would be mortified if I were you. Like, I can't believe that you're sharing as like a positive. I am mortified. You have no gloves on, like even little things like that.
Leave it to the professionals.
Absolutely. Leave it to the professionals. Everyone went to school for a reason. Some longer than others for specifics. Like it's to be taken seriously. It's not always going to be something you can do at home. Yes, some things, sure, you can, do at home facial massage, but leave some of it to those who were trained and properly taught. And I always go back to sanitation because that's something that I'm extremely aware of, because I've been in places where there's not that. I always joke and say you always notice when a place is dirty. You don't ever notice if a place is clean because you just naturally assume everywhere's going to be clean. But then you walk into some of these shops and there's blood on the walls, or there's like open trash cans with dirty gloves. And it's like, I'm sorry, where am I? Like, this is crazy. Right. And sometimes that happens. And then you get scared and then, you go somewhere else. If you see that, go somewhere else. If you see the bloody gloves just on the table, you got to go somewhere else.
And that brings me back again to what that plastic surgeon I was talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. So some of the patients that have moved to our place, they used to go to him at his condo downtown. His home.
Yeah, that's scary. I don't like that. So, you have your animal's hair. You have your food right there. No way.
And so like one
carpet. No. Yeah. No.
Carpet alone.
Yeah.
Carpet
right.
alone.
Right. In your personal bathroom or like washing hands. No way. No.
They were saying that he was doing surgical procedures in his living room.
Absolutely not. Like Dexter with like a tarp on the floor. No way. No. I will not be there. I'll be there. I'll be with you. Oh, thank you. Not interested in that.
So, folks,
do your research.
If you glean anything from this,
yes,
please just be diligent in
yes.
selection. You don't have to come to me. You don't have to come to Dr. yes. Phillips, although we'd love to see you.
Yes.
But please don't go to someone's living room or bedroom.
That should be a given. Yeah.
And please don't let some unlicensed person doing
absolutely.
Things to your face.
Absolutely. Do better.
Think about yourself.
Right. Care about yourself more. It's not good. If you had one piece of advice to give to someone who maybe is in a similar position, maybe they're just a little bit older than their peers, maybe they are having multiple career changes, maybe they've always wanted to do something in this industry, whether it's medicine, surgery, aesthetics, fill in the blank, but they're nervous, if they want to start, what is one piece of advice that you would give to them as a, you can do it, I believe in you? What would you say?
Make sure you're going into it for the right reason.
Absolutely.
Make sure you get the best training you possibly can from the get-go, and surround yourself with people that are positive and have good input for you. If you have negativity surrounding you, that's going to drag you down for real. And that was one thing I had to get myself out of, because I want to be surrounded by people with positivity. Mm-hmm. And beautiful women like this, right?
Stop.
No, and like Lexi here. Oh my goodness.
All of our clear skin. No.
Yes. And look at her brows.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. My girl, Alyssa, you got to schedule. Click the link below.
So yeah, there's a million ways to fail.
Right.
And you really, you gotta plan for things a little bit. You gotta be more insightful. And if you're diligent and prudent, you will likely succeed. But nothing is ever a given for anyone. Mm-hmm. There are doctors in Winter Park that have had med spas fail. Mm-hmm. Many, actually. And so, every year you see places close their doors, and I hate to see it. I want everyone to succeed.
Absolutely.
There's enough patience for everybody.
I always say that. There really are. There are plenty of faces and heads of hair to go around. Yeah. Absolutely.
But there's going to be a reason, and if you truly want it, there's a way that you can achieve it. But you got to have your head in the right place and your heart in the right place. Absolutely.
You got to hustle, because it ain't easy. Mm-mm. So if someone is listening and they want to schedule with you or potentially work for you, how can they do that? Plug yourself, share how everyone can find you.
Yeah. Well, so you can find us on Instagram at Dr. Phillips Aesthetics. Just don't watch the goofy videos. my girls make me do everything, okay?
As they should.
It's not by my choice.
Held hostage.
Or you can... Or you can email us at info@drphillipsaesthetics.net. Or you can call us at 321-203-2050.
Excellent. And we'll put all their booking details in the show notes too, guys. If you want to, I do what I can, hopefully people will want to come see you. We're all going to come see you. We love hearing about you. Miriam said just the best things about you guys. And
oh my goodness, Miriam is so amazing.
I know, she's literally the best.
Y'all got to check out her Instagram.
Oh, for sure.
She is killer with nails.
Yeah, she is. At Embellished by Miriam. Yeah, that's our girl. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to chat with me, talk about your biz. I know that the people listening are going to love this. Had so many pieces of, amazing education, and your story is so cool. And I really appreciate you taking the time, and I'll be in shortly. Don't you fret. Yeah. I will be seeing you soon. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Have the best rest of your day, and we will see you on next week's episode. Bye.